The morning air in Columbus, Ohio, was sharp and cold, the kind that made people pull their coats tighter and hurry along without looking at each other. At a small corner cafe near the bus stop, a woman named Rachel wiped tables before the doors officially opened. Her hands were red from the cold, her eyes tired, but she moved with quiet care, as if every small task mattered. Rachel was a single mother of two, and life had become a careful balance of rent notices, school lunches, and late-night worries. She worked mornings at the cafe and cleaned offices at night. Every dollar had a purpose, and none were wasted. Still, it never felt like enough. She smiled anyway, because her children believed she was strong, and she refused to let them see fear. That morning, a man sat alone by the window, watching people pass. He wore a simple coat and no visible signs of wealth, but his posture carried confidence. His name was Daniel Harper, a billionaire known in business magazines, but unrecognized here. He had come to the cafe without security, wanting to feel normal again, even if just for an hour. Rachel brought him coffee, apologizing softly for the wait. Daniel looked up and thanked her, noticing the kindness in her voice. Before the story goes any further, if you're watching this and believe small moments can change lives, take a second to subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Stories like this remind us why kindness still matters. As Daniel sipped his coffee, he observed how Rachel spoke to every customer, how she bent down to greet a child, how she slipped an extra napkin to an older man who trembled. There was no show in it, no expectation of reward, just quiet humanity. When the cafe emptied, Daniel called Rachel over. She stiffened slightly, worried she had done something wrong. Instead, he placed his black credit card on the table and pushed it toward her. "Take this," he said calmly. "Use it for 24 hours, no limits. Then tell me what you learned." Rachel stared at the card, her breath catching. She shook her head, stepping back. "I can't," she said. "That's not mine." Daniel met her eyes gently. "That's why I chose you." After a long pause and a call to her sister for advice, Rachel agreed. Her hands trembled as she took the card. She expected excitement to rush in, but instead she felt something heavier responsibility. That night she didn't sleep. The next morning she bought groceries. Not luxury items, just fresh food her children had never tasted. She paid her overdue electric bill. She replaced her son's broken glasses. Each swipe felt strange, almost painful, like stepping into a world she didn't belong to. As the day went on, Rachel noticed something unexpected. The more she spent, the less joy it brought her. She used the card to help an elderly neighbor buy medicine. She paid for a stranger's gas. She donated winter coats to a shelter near downtown. Those moments felt warmer than anything she bought for herself. When the 24 hours ended, Rachel returned to the cafe, the card resting quietly in her pocket. Daniel was waiting, his coffee untouched. She handed it back without hesitation. He smiled. "So," he said softly, "what did you learn?" Rachel took a deep breath, her eyes filling with tears. "I learned that money can fix problems," she said, "but it can't replace being seen. The best moments weren't when I spent on myself. They were when I helped someone else feel human again." Daniel's smile faded, replaced by something raw and emotional. Her words struck places success never had. For the first time in years, his eyes burned. Daniel sat silently, his fingers wrapped around the warm coffee cup, but he no longer felt the heat. Rachel's words echoed in his mind, stripping away years of boardrooms, profit charts, and polished speeches. He had given away millions before, funded foundations, built schools with his name carved in stone. Yet none of it had ever made his chest ache the way her quiet honesty just had. He cleared his throat, blinking rapidly. "Do you know," he said slowly, "that I've spent my whole life believing generosity was about numbers?" His voice cracked despite his effort to steady it. Rachel shook her head gently, unsure what to say. She had already said everything that mattered. Daniel stood and reached into his coat, pulling out a folded envelope. He placed it on the table, but did not push it toward her. "I won't insult you by offering you money you didn't ask for," he said, "but I want you to have a choice." Inside was not a check, but an offer for a fully paid education program and a salaried position managing one of his community outreach initiatives, with flexible hours and childcare included. Rachel stared at the envelope, tears slipping free before she could stop them. For the first time, someone hadn't tried to rescue her or judge her. They had simply trusted her. She nodded, unable to speak, and Daniel nodded back, as if they had reached an agreement far deeper than words. In the weeks that followed, Rachel's life began to change, not overnight, but steadily. Her children noticed the difference first. The tension in her shoulders softened. She laughed more. She slept through the night. She worked with purpose now, helping families like her own, making sure dignity was never an afterthought. Daniel, too, changed. He started visiting the programs he funded, sitting with people instead of speaking at them. He listened. Sometimes he said nothing at all. Every now and then, he would think back to a cold morning in Ohio, to a tired woman with kind eyes, who taught him what wealth truly meant. They met again months later at the same cafe. This time, Rachel was not wiping tables. She was there to talk strategy, to plan food drives and scholarship funds. Daniel watched her speak with confidence, compassion guiding every word. He realized then that the credit card had never been the test. The test was whether he was willing to learn from someone who had far less and understood far more. As they stood to leave, Rachel thanked him. Daniel shook his head. "No," he said quietly. "Thank you. You gave me something money never could." Outside, snow began to fall, soft and unhurried, settling on the streets of Columbus. People passed each other without noticing, unaware that inside a small cafe, two lives had collided and changed forever, not through wealth, but through compassion.